Welcome to InTouch, dedicated to real estate professionals worldwide. We're here to educate you, entertain you, and empower you in all facets of real estate. Are you ready for the latest news, trends, and market updates? Then it's time to get in touch. Welcome back to the show. Today we are on Rule 10 of our 7 Steps to Powerful Paychecks journey. And the name of Rule 10 is Master Your Script. You know, we talk about scripts a lot in the real estate industry, but ultimately you want to let your conversation flow and allow your scripts to be natural. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to always be reinventing the wheel with what you're saying and the words that are coming out of your mouth. So we're going to talk about internal scripts and we're going to talk about external scripts. But let's start off with a verse. And the verse reads, "Let your conversations be gracious and attractive so that you will have the right response for everyone." And I know, and I believe the listeners know as well, when you meet somebody whose conversation is gracious and attractive, it's somebody that you want to do business with. So be that person today and choose your words carefully. We've all heard the old adage, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. But I humbly disagree with this statement. I believe it's what you say and how you say it. Clear communication, both before and during the appointment, is an essential ingredient for your long-term success. And it all starts with you building an internal script of words that flow naturally from your heart and mind. So Gary, welcome to the show. Good morning. It's a new day and we're going to be talking to people and out there in the world. What's some of your internal scripts that you wake up with and how you break the ice when you're engaging clients and trying to book that first appointment?
Yeah, it always starts off, it has to be positive because most people are either just starting their day with their cup of coffee and they are not really ready to get into the world yet. So most of your conversation you want to be as clear and positive as you can. And it's like you said, clear communication is the bedrock of creating influence. And it will help you forge forward in the business world. So you really have to be clear, concise, with your communication. When you start early in the morning, and most people do start early in the morning because as the day drags on, coffee wears out, all of the world's problems start to hit your emails and phone calls, and you can get really off track. So start the morning early. Usually start it with the Word of God, and then get into your phone calls.
And I love that you brought up positivity because unfortunately, the mindset of many is quite critical, quite negative, and quite pessimistic. So be a big bright light out there. Remember, we are in the midst of step 3 in our 7-step journey. And what is step 3 all about? It's about getting the appointment. And in order to do that, you are going to have influence and persuasion. And one way you can do that, expand your vocabulary. The more you expand and develop your vocabulary with select word choices, the better and more effective you will be as a communicator. And clear communication, as Gary said, is how you build strong relationships. So become a high-level communicator, and all parties around you will know exactly where you stand at all times. And clear communication helps you minimize your stress level when the pressure is on. And Lord knows the pressure is on in the real estate industry at all times. And it also helps avoid confusion even when the conversations get tough. Clear communication, as Gary mentioned, is the bedrock of creating influence. It will help you forge forward in the business world. Equally important to clear communication is concise communication. More than ever, people's attention spans are limited these days, so speak clearly and get right to the point. Now, scripts have an interesting history in our industry, Gary. A lot of people don't like scripts because they feel like, oh, I'm going to sound like a robot and I wouldn't say it this way. And that's all well and fine. We encourage people to put things into their own words. But if you don't have a template and you don't have some key questions, conversations get off track real quick. And all of a sudden you're talking about the weather and everything under the sun, but you're not talking about why you contacted them to begin with, which is to drive towards that appointment. So, how do you bring people back on track when they inherently get off track and you're trying to stick to your script?
Yeah, well, there's different scripts, right? You have scripts for investors, scripts for new buyers, scripts for sellers. And you always want to find out ahead of time what their goal is. And like you said, Andrew, you can definitely get off track easily or start talking about whatever the weather, but you want to bring them back to that goal. What is that goal? Is it to find an apartment building in a certain area? Uh, so you really want to nail that down and keep bringing them back to your script, back to the goal, and that way, I mean, you certainly want to engage with them and start a relationship, but don't go off the script too many times because it will just take you off and you'll be wasting people's times. And most people have a certain amount of time, and they will respect you staying on course.
Yeah, I can always tell a real bona fide true professional when I meet them in the sales world by simply asking them, what's your script? Because it all starts with a script, and they should be able to rattle that off the tip of their tongue in no time. And they may deviate a little and change based on the person they're talking to or the context of the conversation, but it is all in a formalized, driven script. So start with a script. Many people shy away from learning pre-written sales scripts because, again, they think they sound too robotic or feel unnatural when they speak the script out loud. And although there are times when you have no access to a script and you need to develop your own script from scratch, your best bet is to find a proven pre-written script that works. Then use it. And pre-written scripts are typically provided by your company or management team, sales consultants, because they work. When you receive a proven pre-written script and then go off script or attempt to develop your own script, you are making a mistake. Unless you're a highly trained sales professional who can improvise on the spot with something superior to what has been tested and works, I strongly advise against going off script. And remember this, as the old adage goes, practice makes perfect. Just as an actor must memorize their script before filming, to become a high-level communicator, you must rehearse your script before your performance. Imagine a film actor telling the director they plan to show up on the first day of filming without memorizing the script and plan to create their own dialogue. That actor will be fired and replaced with a new actor who can follow directions and learn from those who know what they are doing. So don't be a bad actor. And we all know the power of words. As I stated at the beginning of this rule, it's what you say and how you say it. So finding your style of communication is important so that the words flow naturally from your heart and mind with sincerity. And being authentic and genuine in your delivery signals to the prospect that you are a professional who has mastered your craft. So do not be embarrassed or nervous that you are modeling someone else's words when using a script. Why reinvent the wheel? Others have come before you. They've figured out what works to your benefit. So find out from your leadership team or mentor what to say, how to say it, and when to say it. And if necessary, you may need to modify the word choices ever so slightly to match your personal vocabulary so it flows naturally. So Gary, how do you do this in your business? You've been trained, been mentored, been coached. You've been through the 7 Steps program. You've had amazing colleagues around you. I've watched you grow your career and build it out. And now you're in a stage, a season of your career where it's just fun. I mean, the business is tough. It's always a tough business, but it flows naturally when you're around clients and colleagues. And how did you convert those elementary sales scripts to get going into this professional style that you have now?
Yeah, now after 20 years of saying the same words over and over, it's kind of implanted or ingrained in your mind. So you are using a script but it's all natural. And I think that, like you said, if it flows naturally, it's not like you're just, you know, a robot, you know, you're an actual person and you can relate to the other person that's on the phone or in front of you. So that's the key. You're always learning and always growing. You know, in our real estate world, things change. We just had a big change, as you know, through the commissions and the BRBC forms that we need to fill out now. So when that hit, everybody panicked. What I did and what another one of my friends and colleagues, Nicole, did is she figured out, well, what are we going to do? How do we shift? Well, how do we add that new script into our daily workspace? And so she decided what she was going to do, and a lot of times I'll call her, she'll call me, we'll talk about it, and then it will become more natural once you've got it down and you understand, you know, business changes not only in real estate but in anything you do. So when there's change, make sure that you have somebody, like you said, a mentor, somebody within your company that you can call and talk to and work things out before you try and work things out in front of a client or a customer. So that shows that, you know, you're a professional, and you're not practicing on a client that you could possibly lose.
I'm glad you brought up the colleague to do the practicing with, because that's a key element for long-term success. And we don't realize how impactful flushing out those conversations is before, as you suggested, you try to practice on a client, which is a terrible idea. And no one wants to sound like an idiot. Everybody's worried about what they're going to say when there's a new change, or if they're just breaking into the business. There's that, the butterflies in the stomach, the nervousness. Is this, am I going to have all the answers? You don't always have to have the answer. Besides, few people appreciate a know-it-all. It's okay to say, I don't know, but I'll follow up with you and I'll find out for you. Your prospects will appreciate the transparency. Now, with that said, if you frequently don't know the answer to your prospects' questions, you may lose the prospects as they will question your competency. But point being is that when you have a colleague that you trust, that has experience, give them a call and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking for my presentation or my appointment, and this is what I'm going to say. Can I run it by you and flush it out with them? I've done that with colleagues over the years and get down to an alignment from another professional on how did that land with you? Did it resonate? Was it clear? Am I explaining it properly? And then you'll be prepared and it will flow naturally. So that brings us to our paycheck principle number 10, and that is master the words that come out of your mouth. Quite simple. If you remember that movie, Gary, with Jackie Chan and Chris Rock, one of my favorite moments, and I think it's universal, everybody knows, is when Chris Rock's looking at Jackie Chan and he says, I don't understand the words coming out of your mouth. And I show that at the 7 Steps training a lot, because that's how a lot of clients actually feel when they talk to some real estate people. They're talking in acronyms and they're, talking industry shop talk and all this stuff. They don't understand what in the world they're talking about. So my encouragement is keep it simple, stupid. That's a great acronym, KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. And explain it, anything that you're explaining, as if you were explaining it to an elementary child. And if they're more sophisticated, that's fine. You can expand your vocabulary. If they start speaking back to you in words or acronyms or industry terms, well, then that gives you the liberty to start to integrate more sophisticated language in your script. But if not, make sure that you are clear and concise and that they completely understand what you're talking about. So let's talk about shaping our character. We always take one core value, we put that in focus at the end of each one of these rules. Today, it's understanding. Just like I talked about, if they don't understand what you're sharing with them, there's no way they're going to move forward. So understanding will help you master your script. As you reflect on ways to grasp following your script, consider how your comprehension can help you master this rule. And this begins with your thorough understanding of exactly what you are offering. But it doesn't stop there. The understanding must go full circle. You, who are making the offer, must also comprehend your prospect's needs. Remember, anytime you are soliciting or pitching your service, I'm not talking about an offer on property here, but if you're soliciting your service, you are offering your service to somebody. So you are making an offer, and they must understand, the prospect, right, who you are making the offer to must also understand exactly what you're offering. And both of you need to come to an understanding of what the best path, timeline, and way to move forward are. And when you listen intently to understand others and focus on their needs, they will want to reciprocate. And ensuring they completely understand your offering and making it comfortable to ask any simple question will motivate them to learn more about how you can meet their needs. If someone hears what you're saying but can't figure out what you mean, then your words and offer are lost on them. In other words, what is equally important as your communication skills is your ability to break things down into simple, understandable terms so others clearly get the point and can see the value of the product and service you are offering. So, Gary, you're at the appointment, you're meeting with the client. They're all excited because maybe they're buying a property or they're considering letting go of something that's a burden, right? Listing their property. How many times in someone's lifetime do they go through this process? Handful, maybe, sometimes only one or two. And how do you break down the complexities of a long-term transaction like real estate? Could be 6 months, could be a year. You don't know. Depends on the market. How do you break that down into simple, understandable terms?
Well, yeah, the process of like selling your home, they say, well, this is what they used to say is that once you buy a home, you'll be in that home from 2 to 5 years. That was the national average. I'm not sure if that's changed, but even if it's 10 years, it's still like not buying a pair of shoes. It's a huge endeavor. So communicating the process and after 10 years, the process changes here with us. Seems like every few months something changes. So by the time they're ready to go through that process again, there's a lot of things that have changed. So you must communicate to them, hey, this is how it works now. Don't listen to your friend. Don't listen to whoever. You listen to me. I've been doing it for 20 years, and this is the process. This is how it's going to work. Do you understand? And you might have to repeat yourself over and over and over again because it's not complicated, but there is a lot of things that are involved with a transaction. So making sure that everybody understands what you're going to do, what your process is. So that will take the nervousness down and will make the transaction hopefully go a lot smoother. There will be stress. There always is. Usually not on my side, but you're there as part of the team to make sure that they get to the end goal, which is whatever, selling the house or buying a home.
As we wrap up today's episode, we always like to conclude with a mastering your BS section, which is mastering your behavior and skills. And step 3, the appointment, is a skill. As a reminder, step 1, the initial contact, and step 2, the consistent follow-up. Those are behavioral patterns. That's something you have to get up in the morning and prospect. But persuading people to meet you, it all comes down to the words that are coming out of your mouth. So that's a skill. And again, our rule today, master your script. Let's go over some biblical references. Desire to get as much advice and teaching as you can. Choose to pay attention to constructive criticism. Decide to listen to what wise people say. The result is you will wind up in poverty and shame if you disregard criticism. The promise is you will be honored if you take correction. And here's some words of wisdom. Many of these biblical references come right out of Proverbs. If you listen to constructive criticism, you will be at home among the wise. Criticism is tough for all of us to take, but the bottom line is, as the scripture references, if you're not willing to take constructive criticism, you're going to have a hard road ahead. The wise are people who not only take constructive criticism, but gently give positive, uplifting, and encouraging constructive criticism. Here's some questions to meditate on this week. How do you develop your scripts? How do you handle constructive criticism? What are your most common word choices? And where do you seek your word choices? I find mine in Scripture. Your call to action: memorize often, accept criticism, study word choices, master your script. We hope the message has blessed you, and we look forward to continuing on with Rule 11 in our next episode.